Shalom Chaverim. Today a double portion, Matot-Masei. And so let's begin immediately with a very known phrase. Life is a journey, not a destination. Now, I'm sure you've probably heard this really well chewed up phrase many times in your life, and some of you may be able to associate it with the American philosopher, essayist, poet, lecturer, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Was born in 1803, died in 1882. Now, this line may be associated with Emerson, but it actually does not appear in this form in any of his texts. It's a paraphrasing. But the gist of it, the gist of life is a journey, not a destination, is definitely a really big part of his work. Now, why Emerson today? The Torah portion, Matot-Masei, the second portion, Masei, is actually about journeys. In fact, the word Masei in Hebrew means journeys. So, let's see the beginning of Masei. אלה מעשה בני ישראל, אשר יצאו מארץ מצרים, לצבאותם ביד משה ואהרון. These were the marches, JPS translation again, Masei, journeys, of the Israelites, who started out from the land of Egypt troop by troop in the charge of Moses and Aaron. ויכתוב משה את מוצאיהם למסעיהם על פי אדוני, ואלה מסעיהם למוצאיהם. So Moses recorded the starting point of their various marches or journeys as directed by Adonai, and their journeys by starting points were as follows. Okay, so let's unpack this. So here we understand that Moses keeps some sort of a journal of the Israelites' journeys. So there will be some reflection of those for the use of future generations. Now, what's really interesting is that, of course, there is some double wording here in the second verse, and this double wording sent our commentators exploring. What was the double wording? Basically, the whole את מוצאיהם למעשיהם ואלה מעשיהם למוצאיהם. So basically it's like a circle. Their starting point to their journeys and their journeys to their starting point. So our commentators were exploring it. Now, I chose out of all the commentary one that is actually really in vein with Emerson and Emerson's philosophy, and that is, of course, the who is considered the founder of the Hasidut movement, Israel ben Eliezer, also known as Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov, that was born around 1700 and died in 1760. All right, so here we have a Tornister, this Baal Shem Tov, which has a Torah commentary. And let's see what is the first note from the Baal Shem Tov on Masei. And I'm going to skip a little bit and read here. ובוודאי נכתבו המסעות בתורה להורות הדרך הישר לאיש הישראלי, לידע הדרך הישר אשר ילך בו כל ימי חייו לנסוע ממסע למסע, וידוע שכל המסעות הם בחינת קדושים וטהורים. All right, I'm going to stop here so I can translate and unpack a little. So, Baal Shem Tov is saying, these journeys are recorded in the Torah in order to teach us the right path to follow in our lives, and that all of our journeys are holy and pure. Kivrot hata'ava, for they buried there the people who lusted. Meaning to say, when a person attains the level of chokhmah, the level of wisdom, he loses all of his material desires in his great attachment to God. Now we can understand how all the journeys were holy or contained aspects of holiness and exalted levels, yet had they not distorted these places, each one would have revealed its hidden light. Okay, so there's a great Torah here, great wisdom. So what Baal Shem Tov is saying here, he basically emphasizes the false perception by which humans spend their life's journeys. So basically, that people are following paths that are dictated to them by external forces and are not making the most of those paths by thinking for themselves. Now, and the Baal Shem Tov says, and let me explain that there are several points in life where people journey and reached a point where they think that something is required of them. So, for example, when a person is young and he has what a Baal Shem Tov calls tav'era, basically desires, really, really burning desires. Society basically says you must curb those desires. You must not act upon them. But what the Baal Shem Tov says, no, that is not true. Do not listen to those external forces, let's say, of society. If you have those desires, what you have to do is think for yourself and channel those desires into something good. So, of course, for him is the work of Adonai. But if we take it to our modern time, how can you channel your desires for something good? Maybe you build a village, you start a center where people can talk to each other, you invent something, you organize, you basically take those desires and you do something good with them. And the opposite is also true when he talks about kivrot hata'ava, which means the graves of desire. There are times in life when people journey and reach that point where they feel like, okay, now it's time for me to bury my desires, in the sense that our desires no longer exist. We are either older, or we have families, or we have no use of them. So then again, the Baal Shem Tov says, no, when you reach that point where you no longer feel that desire, enjoy it. Enjoy it and make the most of it. And every step of your journey, you should embrace and enjoy, which is really something that contradicts Western society, where, especially in older age, where people do not make peace with the place that they are at and yearn to be constantly somewhere else. Now, this philosophy is incredibly similar to Emerson's. And so today I'm going to be reading from Emerson's. This is a collection of essays from Emerson's essay about self-reliance. It's an essay that was written in 1841. And now, just a little bit of a historical context for how it was written. So Emerson wrote this really in a time between two very important points in US history, the American Revolution and the Civil War. So basically what Emerson and many of his contemporaries felt is that they have to develop some sort of new thinking, that they have to let go of the European way of things, of all these doctrines that European society was holding, and really create a brave new world. And of course, the country was very young and had tremendous challenges and social issues. Slavery would be the largest for Emerson. So he developed this thinking where we as a nation, as well as individuals, must think for ourselves. And that is the core of this essay, which is called Self-Reliance. So, see here. Okay, so here is from Self-Reliance. Whoso would be a man must be a nonconformist. He who would gather immortal palms must not be hindered by the name of goodness, but must explore if it be goodness. Nothing is at last sacred but the integrity of your own mind. So if that sounds like a Baal Shem Tov, it is a little bit like about a Baal Shem Tov, and I love the way Emerson writes it, really the integrity of your mind. Really, when you journey, think for yourself. Another very important thing for Emerson was consistency. or rather to not be consistent. So if we in our journeys feel like that we have predetermined stop, that everything must be consistent with everything else, we are losing something very, very important about the experience of life. So Emerson preaches inconsistency. And here I will read this passage also from there. So he writes, a foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds, adored by little statesmen and philosophers and divines. With consistency, a great soul has simply nothing to do. So yes, so if you keep that consistency of what is expected of you, the soul has nothing to do. Again, really, really beautiful. And look how this idea of consistency, again, is in dialogue with a Baal Shem Tov. Because a Baal Shem Tov were saying, לידע דרך הישר, אשר ילך בו כל ימי חייו, לנסוע ממסע למסע. So what a Baal Shem Tov says is that you must go from journey to journey. That means that every time you journey, you should stop and begin another journey. Every time you should innovate, you should reroute, you should change direction, which is also very similar to what Emerson suggests. And it really mirrors what the Torah illustrates about the Israelites that are journeying and stopping and journeying and stopping. And it says, Vais'u vayachanu, Vais'u vayachanu. So the Israelites too constantly change direction as they explore, as if you have it, think for themselves. So I would like to conclude in Emerson's really famous words, which might be closest to that known phrase of life is a journey and not a destination. And this is actually from Self-Reliance, and it goes like this. Man postpones or remembers. He does not live in the present, but with a reverted eye laments the past. Or, heedless of the riches that surround him, stands on tiptoe to foresee the future. He cannot be happy and strong until he too lives with nature in the present above time. Shabbat Shalom.